Let's talk about one of the stories that I love most in life. If you want to excite me, bring up this subject, high-speed rail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this country, Canada, we are not the most densely populated country. You know it, right? It's a lot of vast wilderness, and then along the border, we've got some people, okay? But, if you looked at Canada and you looked at the corridor between Quebec City, right, all the way to Windsor, Ontario, and you looked at the population density from Windsor in Ontario all the way up to Quebec City. If you looked at that population density, you could take that density, superimpose it on Europe, it would look very good. Superimpose it on Japan, for crying out loud, it would look very good. That corridor, again, Windsor to Quebec City, dying for high-speed rail. I have taken those milk run trains, and frankly, I'm fed up with it, right? I'm fed up that a trip to Toronto takes 6 hours if you're lucky, right? Now, there are plans afoot to change that, right? And VIA Rail, in fact, has a subsidiary, VIA HFR, High Frequency Rail, that is looking, and I know Ottawa's been looking at giving us another solution to cut the amount of time to get from Montreal to Toronto. It is our tremendous pleasure to welcome the CEO of that subsidiary. Martin Imbleau is on the line. Monsieur Imbleau, welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thanks for having me right before the Prime Minister.
I know. So listen, you heard the lead up there. This is my passion in life. I want high-speed rail, okay?
Great introduction, by the way.
Yeah. So what about you? Is this your passion? Is this a passion for you?
Well, actually, it's not. The passion is to build infrastructure for the economy and for citizens. I've been doing this for the last 30 years, and I've built large projects in Quebec and Ontario and elsewhere in the world. And the intent is to offer you the best service so you can jump on a train and go to Toronto and way less time than what you just described, which is 5 hours and a half. Canada is the only G7 country that does not have a fast train between its capitals. So it's about time that we do it.
So when the federal government made this announcement, and I'm a critic, right? I'm on radio. I got to give criticism. The thing that struck me is they changed the wording on us, right? Not high speed rail, high frequency rail. And I said, something's afoot. And then, I've seen estimates. Oh, we'll do it now in 4:15, maybe 4:30, 4:15, maybe 4 hours. And you know what I say to that? Not good enough. I want high-speed rail. Martin, can I call you Martin? That's what I want, Martin. I want high-speed rail. Tell me what the plan is, how fast it will actually go.
Well, the plan is to serve what you just described. Of course, the word frequency is misleading because the project that I'm leading is not about frequency. It's about offering the best service. And the best service has to meet 3 criteria. It has to be fast. It has to be reliable. It has to be frequent. So it's not only about frequency. And you'll be pleased to hear that when I joined last fall, and with the support of the government, we've actually changed the scope of the RFP, so the request for proposal with the private sector, so we can have offers for services that reach 200 kilometers per hour, but also no limit. So we're saying to the public sector, please provide us with the best option to go as fast as possible. And to be fast is about reducing the journey time. We need to reduce the journey time between Montreal and Toronto to 3 hours and 30, 3 hours and 15, or maybe 3 hours. That is the type of ambition that we're talking about now today. It's about changing the behavior of how people commute between the cities in that corridor. That serves, you mentioned it in your opening, it's 60% of the population that live in that corridor. They are entitled to a fast and reliable service that will also, by the way, be electric.
So, Martin, I'm not a religious man, but God bless you, because that is a big difference. I was worried that we would accept something that isn't even good enough in this country, right? So I'm happy to see that has happened. There's been a change. What's been the response from the private sector? Are they saying, "Yup, we can do it"?
Well, I think everyone now realizes that the word again was misleading. It's about being fast and efficient. So what we're doing is developing the best service, the best infrastructure that can be built. because I think you've mentioned services in Europe. Sometimes those services go as high as 300 kilometers per hour, but the average time can be way slower. So the intent for us is to be reliable, fast and efficient, but also to be really adapted to the situation. So one of the constraints that we have, and we need to work on this, is how do we get downtown? How do we design the entry and the exits to get in Toronto, Montreal, and in Quebec? So that also will reduce our journey time if we can be more efficient and not slowing down for half an hour to reach, let's say, a station downtown. So it's the type of ambition that everyone likes, but we need to find the proper solution. And allow me this, the way to find that is to take our time in the development phase. We are entering that development phase that will last for, 3 or 4 years. We need to work slowly initially to be very fast after. So that's what project management is all about.
We're with Martin Imbleau, who is the CEO of VIA Rail's subsidiary that's responsible for the high-frequency rail project for that very important corridor in this country from Windsor to Quebec City. So let me ask you this, Martin. What about the route that it will take? And by the way, thanks for bringing up the downtown portion, because I was worried that one of the catches may be, okay, we'll get high-speed rail, but you're going to need to take an hour-long trip to get to the station in the first place. I want downtown to downtown. I think it's so key here. So tell me about the route. How many stops? Let's say the Montreal to Toronto, since that's probably most interesting for our listeners.
Well, I think many destinations are interesting. I think there's a lot of people commuting to Ottawa and a lot to Quebec also. So the corridor is between Quebec and Toronto initially, and the mandatory stops are Quebec, Trois-Rivières, Laval, and Montreal, and then west is Ottawa, Peterborough, and Toronto. So you would appreciate that it is a fairly limited number of stops. And that's how we can think about a fast service, and because we don't want to have a service that stops at 20 different places. Otherwise, we will just repeat the service that we have today. So it's a limited number of stops. And as for the alignment or the route, it will be developed with the private partner that we will be selecting this coming summer. We will work diligently to pick the best route possible. But the stops that I've mentioned are mandatory ones. So we'll have more details probably in a year or two to present in terms of more precise routes.
Martin, one of my worries is that I'll be retiring in 30 years and I'll be doing interviews about when will we get high-speed rail. So what about timeline here? I know you want to do it right, and doing it right may take a little bit more time. But, in your wildest dreams, what's a reasonable timeline for that wonderful trip, high speed, whether it's Montreal to Quebec City or Montreal to Toronto or Montreal, Ottawa?
Well, let's not talk about dream, but about reality. That type of large linear project takes time to develop, and I've done that type of project, but not of this magnitude. So let's talk about probably 3, 4, 5 years of development. That means that meeting the communities, ensuring the support of Indigenous communities, finding the proper alignment, doing the engineering, and having the proper costing and everything. So that phase is important. And then construction will start. And this will not be one single large project. Think of it as like 10 projects of 100 kilometers, because otherwise, if you start constructing it everywhere, you don't learn from it, and it's not the best way to manage that type of project. So we'll see the in-service probably by segment, and you can think about, 5 years for a segment to be built. So you will have the chance definitely to jump on that train sometime in the early 2030s.
Oh, I certainly hope so. Now, let me just get one. I have to let you go, but a clarification, because you mentioned Laval was one of those stops that has to be part of the route. Is downtown Montreal, because you skipped over it by accident, is downtown Montreal a must-stop part of this route as well?
The requirement that we have asked the private sector to for the initial development, it is actually downtown to downtown between Montreal and Toronto.
Okay, very good.
Where downtown though, it needs to be decided. It remains to be decided.
Gotcha.
We absolutely need to pick the right spot for the next generation of commuters, not how we used to travel yesterday, but how commuters will use this service in the future.
Martin, real pleasure. Let's catch up again in the future on this. So we cover this stuff all the time in the program.
We'll be in the studio next time so we can meet.
Awesome. That's great. Martin Imbleau right there, who is the CEO of the VIA Rail subsidiary in charge of the High Rail, High Frequency project.